Okay, we're rolling.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. This is Dave with you. Hope you're doing well. It's good to be with you again. Thanks for pressing play. Thanks for checking out another episode of the How to Podcast series. Your first time here, welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us. I'm doing a interview with my co-host, Nick McGowan. And Nick and I are talking all things podcasting. And what I wanted to do was take a very long conversation, a very good conversation with Nick, such a great guy, and break it up into little parts. Now, what I'm going to do here is an example of another way to edit your show, okay? This is kind of what we would do, and some people will call this a narrative type style edit for your podcast. Basically, behind the scenes, what's happened is I have my actual recording of Nick and I together. So I have a track for my voice in what I say and a track for Nick, two separate tracks. I'm using Audacity for this. And I recorded this on Zoom. There you go. I've broken so many rules already. I love it. Anyways, so I have the two tracks on Audacity, free program, another rule broken. And I am editing in this software, which I've been using for 25 years, something like that, a long time. Been using this for music recording and editing. So it's already one of my favorite tools ever. Sorry to all the other ones, like the text-based editing. I'm an actual editor, like an audio editor, not a book editor. Anyway, so I am using this software, and what I'm doing is I'm going to then basically delete my track from the finished episode that you're hearing now and re-record myself, kind of, we would call it punching in, or like putting myself into the show and then taking myself back out, giving context to what Nick is going to say next, reframing my questions so they're clear, more concise, and basically just altering my side of what's happening so that you get this. And what I'm doing is probably cutting it down as well, because it's well over an hour conversation. So a lot of the cuts that I'm going to be doing are mostly me, removing me from the conversation and giving you kind of the best of. If you want a really great example of this kind of editing, go check out Monetize This by Dave Beckmeyer. He has got this great show about podcasting, and it's it's fun. It's a really good show. He'll take 45-minute conversation and make a 15-minute episode out of it. So talk about cutting. Wow. So I'm not going to cut that much on the episode, but I am going to trim it down and give you the best of the best from our conversation. Because, we could always use a little bit of editing, right? And I love Nick, and I love having him on the show. It just brings so much wisdom, and I really want to accent him as my guest co-host on the episode. So this is a narrative style edit to the show. It's going to sound a little different, but I hope you enjoy it. And if you want to learn how to do this, reach out to me at howtopodcast.ca. I'll walk you through it. We can do this together over a screen share and show you exactly what I'm doing so you can try it for your next episode. Here we go. So Nick McGowan here on the podcast today, the host of the Mindset and Self-Mastery Show. And we're going to be talking about his journey, his stuff about podcasting. We get into all of this great stuff. Happy to have Nick on the show. Nick, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the How to Podcast series. Good to have you here.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much for having me on. I'm excited. I always enjoy our conversations. And I know we're newer friends with this stuff, but I'm excited to see where things are going for all the shows that you have and things that we're talking about, and appreciate people take the time to be able to listen to stuff like this, to understand how do I just be better at my craft? How do I actually get my conversation out there? So I think it's important what you're doing. I appreciate it.
So one thing that Nick and I have in common is both a love for music. I love it for many, many reasons. And we talked a little bit in our conversation about the fact that podcasters sometimes don't think of themselves as creative people. And as musicians, we feel like we're creative. And I asked Nick about people who wrestle with the idea of being a creative person as a podcaster. What his thoughts were.
I think it's important for us to look around and go, how do I incorporate it in what I do? And how do I keep my creativity going, especially as podcasters? There's some podcasters that probably don't think they're creative. And there are some that I'm sure think they're way more creative than they actually are. But the ones that don't think they're creative typically are the ones that I found that are super creative in the way that they handle things, the way that they go about their conversations, all of that. But they think of creativity from a perspective of a medium like playing music or drawing or writing or painting or whatever it is. But being able to have those things that can help us flow through the rest of the day, I think is important. So not to go on a whole diatribe about music, but I think it's important for us to have that stuff around.
So we go on to hear from here and talk more about the editing side of podcasting. The beautiful thing that music has for us is we translate that and we think musically about our show, and we think musically about how we edit our show and how we can make our show better. So I think as musicians, both Nick and I agree on this one, is that we seem to have a little bit more of an advantage in how we approach the edit of our show from a musical perspective. So here's Nick talking a little bit more about that and how editing and musicianship work together.
I think our skills also tie into this as well. So editing from a perspective of editing your audio, certain people don't understand basic components of audio. And a lot of podcasters that don't understand that, that's fine. They're not audiophiles or nerds like we are when it comes to this stuff. They might just say, well, somebody's microphone was a little low. So that's fine. I'll just add it in and not do anything with it. I won't treat it or anything like that. And I guess concurrently, people will also then jump to AI and go, well, let me just use AI for everything and try to fix all the noises and all the stuff, et cetera. But I think it's important for us to understand what basic components are and some of the tools we can use for audio and video, and some of the basic stuff like how do you set up a parametric EQ? What is the plugin chain you should use when it comes to crafting your audio? What about even normalizing your audio and making sure that everything's same level and then being able to edit from there? And yesterday I was actually editing one of my own podcasts. I don't offshore that to anybody. I've done that in the past, but I enjoy it. And I do some of that work for my clients as well. But I'm also a nerd when it comes to this, so I enjoy it. Keeps my chops up too. But I was working on one of mine, stepped away for a little bit, came back and was like, well, I need to actually work on some of my own music, and spent probably, I don't know, 3-4 hours last night working on literally the EQing of guitars and working through some of the drum stuff and all of that. And I think it ties in together because then I learned things from music just from literally screwing around and trying to figure things out. How do I make things fit spatially and all, into then how do we do that on a much simpler level from a vocal perspective with two of us? You know what I mean?
And Nick went on to talk about more about the idea of putting music into your show, and that the fact that it's more than just slapping a song onto a spoken word podcast and you're good to go. There's actually a lot of musical sense behind the scenes as an editor. And if you don't edit your own show and you give it to somebody else, you're better to work with a musician as an editor than a non-musician, because they might not understand how the beats work and how you need space. There's a lot of stuff. And Nick talks more about this, and I love his approach. And again, as a fellow musician, it's so good to hear somebody explain it this way. But this is how Nick talks about it.
Some of my clients will have intro music. Some will have just the intro that they say, like, welcome to the show and blah, blah, blah. And there's one that picked this song that was, all these songs are 3-4 minutes long, the normal songs or whatever. And I always tell everybody, give me the entire track. Don't give me some clip. Like, you can tell me whatever clip you want or whatever. But this person wanted it to end on like a bam, and you can do that appropriately, but you also need to be mindful of just the air and just a beat. Like, give it a beat where it's like whenever the vocal starts, bam, beat, and then they come in. And I've seen some people make mistakes like that where they don't understand, and it's like, just step back and listen to it. And the reason why I bring that up is I think sometimes we can forget that for the most part, people listen to podcasts. They're driving, they're walking on the treadmill, they're cooking dinner, they're whatever it is. And we have to think like we're thinking back to the 20s or 30s where people were listening to the radio and they were listening to the theatrics of it. And you have to build that into it. Some of that is the pacing. Some of that is also just cleaning up the audio and making sure things aren't as abrasive, like a slight de-esser or something like that. And it takes skill to be able to understand how to do that stuff, because if not, you can totally make everybody sound like they have a lisp, or like you cut off most things. And some of that really takes the time to be able to figure out how to do it, but the right chain of events as well. And by chain of events, I basically mean plugins when it comes to whatever you're using.
There's a lot of AI tools out there that do a lot of this for you. One click of a button. You don't have to have any knowledge about music or editing or any of that. So I asked Nick, what is his thoughts about all these AI tools basically coming in and replacing this whole technique that he's talking about editing your show like a musician would, is what Nick said.
Basically everything. I think at that point, it's a much deeper topic because that person is potentially just looking for the easiest thing they can do to be able to make the thing stand up. And they're trying to embrace some sort of technology that can help them in a way that they can't help themselves. I can understand that logic of like, well, I don't know how to do this and I don't really want to spend the time or money, and everybody keeps pushing the AI stuff, so I guess I should try that. But I think it's a slippery slope because we will do that and then you'll end up doing that for a lot of other things. You also take away being able to learn how to do this stuff.
There seems to be this easy button that people are trying to push just to make it super fast, super easy. Click a button, I walk away, come back, it's done. But like, why is it so important for us to know how to do this stuff? Again, not everybody edits their own show, but Nick qualifies why it's important that we understand editing from an editor's point of view for our podcast.
And I do think it's important for all podcasters, if you do it for 3 people or if you do it for 3 billion people, to know what the process is, to know how this stuff works. Even if you have a whole team of people to be able to do it, you still need to understand how to manage that and understand what your expectations are. So at a base level, I think if you start to really step outside of the humans that are doing the work, then you're not understanding how that stuff works. You have no idea how the sounds were made or anything. So if something's wrong, you can't go back and try to fix it because you have no idea what the recipe was. A prime example is there are certain tools that will have an AI component that like cleans up your audio. If you just hit that button and it cleans up the audio and sounds good, think about what the human process was. You went, well, I don't like it. Okay. Oh, it sounds better. Great. I move along. Like, what did you get out of that? What happened? And I've tried to explain to different people, basically what's happening with this is there's a little bit of a dynamic processor along with a parametric EQ and typically some sort of limiter. And then from there, people are like, what do those words even mean? Did you say parabolic? No, parametric. But being able to break down, like there's an EQ that goes to it that helps shape it a little bit. There's also a compressor that cleans some stuff up and squishes it a little bit. Then a limiter that says, don't squish it too much. And let's actually make things the way it needs to be. That's about what I assume it to be. But I know at that point, like if I were to hit that and go, well, that sounds a little off, I can get in and fix it. And something I'm working on is learning where all the weird sounds are and the frequencies. And that takes a lot of time and experience to go through and know like, oh, well, when I have a deeper echo, it's probably the 250 range, something like that in a male voice. But in females, it might be a little higher, 350, 4, something like that. And to know we can pick this stuff out, etc. If you use AI, you're not learning any of that. And even if you're listening to this and you're like, shut up, I don't want to learn that. I just want to do the thing. Like, totally understand. Then there are also people that are out there, like myself even, that do this stuff and can help you understand how it works and still take that stuff off your plate. So the clients that I work with, I tell them, look, all the stuff that we're doing, it's easy in a way, but it takes a lot of skill to be able to understand how to do it. And then once you do it over and over and over, and you understand, I don't like to do these things, you can offload that to somebody. But I always say somebody, don't just offload it to AI. There are reasons why things are set the way that they are. And for the most part, it's trying to give you easier access to be able to get into the game. But I think if people step away from using other humans, they're losing a lot. And it's typically not because they're like, I just don't want to use humans. I think it ties to a deeper systemic issue. Like everybody's trying to make things a lot faster, trying to make 400 billion clips because they feel like they need to get out there in the middle of the noise and they need to make money with their podcast and they need to do all these things because capitalism and the way the world works right now and what everybody else is telling us.
And if we're making all these clips because it's noisy out there, maybe we're just adding to the noise. Maybe we're part of the problem. Anyway, Nick keeps going.
And I think that's a terrible reason to go down that path. But if you're starting to go down that path, or you've been down that path of, look, I use AI for just about everything, my challenge is just to ask why and be real with ourselves. If it's like, I don't have the skill set, and I don't have the money to pay for people to be able to do it, then there's a beautiful way of going about it that is actually using our brains to be able to help us understand, how do I become resourceful with this? What's the way I can do it?
Also, it goes beyond audio editing into visuals and creating the artwork and all the other stuff that goes along with your podcast. And Nick talks about just a simple thing you can do to be your own editor when it comes to the visual aspects of your podcast.
Even like from a graphic perspective, if you don't have an eye for things, get a Canva account. A Canva Pro account, I think, is like $18 a month, something like that. If you want to use Pro, but for the most part, just use the free version. And there are templates and things that come along with that, and different YouTube courses and all. I guess really what I'm getting to is like, look, if you're going to do this, do it. Do it the right way and actually enjoy and build with the process and understand how these things work. And I think a lot of people rely too much on AI for just about everything. I had somebody show that I was on, I don't know, a couple months ago or something. And they told me, I'm just going to pop it all in the AI. I'm going to do this and do that. And like, I just kind of felt gross with it. And it's like, so if you had somebody that could help you with some of these things, or at least guide you in some directions, would you be open to that? And they were basically like, nah, man, I'm good. Like, I got all the things I need. I just hit buttons and like let things go out. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm not one of those people that tries to sell people, like, at all. I used to be way back in the day, but at this point, like, cool. If you don't want help, great. If you do, let me know. If you don't, like, good on you, have at it. And after the episode aired, I got an email. It was like, here's your things, here's this, and here's that. And I created all these clips of the show. And there was this like 30 file folder of all these different clips. And I'd asked, I was like, oh, did you go through and create all these clips, or did you use AI? Honestly, kind of knowing I'm setting this dude up for failure, like, I know what you're doing. And he was like, 100% AI. Isn't it great? I still have yet to respond to that email.
A whole bunch of something doesn't mean it's good. Okay? The fact that you can go to these things, click a button, and it makes all this for you. There's no human thought involved. There's no curation. It's just push a button. Look how great I am. And you're adding to the noise of podcast promotion into a world of people who give two craps about your show, and you're flooding them with 35 clips about Dave on your podcast. Who cares? And you're part of the machine. And it's not a good look. It's not a good look.
So I looked through those 30, and every single one of them was just so god awful. The video itself wasn't actually set properly. So it wasn't 9:16 like we need formatted wise for shorts or reels or anything. There was a whole bunch of padding up top and below because it was all through Zoom. So it was basically like this rectangle with black up top and bottom. Lighting was terrible because it wasn't touched at all. The audio sounded okay because I've got a great mic, but there was no treatment. There was nothing done to it at all. The captions were clearly auto-generated and out of context. There were a few things that I said, like, what a dumb idea to do something like this or whatever. And it was like, what a dumb idea. And like gave emojis and all. None of it made any sense. I can't use any single bit of it. And I'm not going to name names, obviously. That's not cool. But we all have met different people that are so deeply ingrained. And it's not just the AI component of it. I think it's more of a systemic problem of like, well, we want to do these things because the world tells us we need to put all this stuff out, and I don't really know what to do. So I'm just going to keep producing all the content and doing all this.
There's a difference between impact and noise. And what I'm finding is there's a lot of noise in podcasting right now. There's a lot of noise around tools. There's a lot of noise around AI and about flooding the market, the podcasting audience market, with crappy things that are not thought through, things that are just you can tell no human was involved in creating this content. Half sentences, out of context things. It's just cutting people, things just drop off. It's the most annoying thing. And I'm with Nick here. If you send me all those clips, I'm not going to use probably any of them because it's just not what I want to put in front of the world. It doesn't make me look good as a guest on your show to give me 30 crappy clips. Doesn't work.
In all reality, man, when it comes to the content that I create, so I use the Adobe Creative Suite. So I use Premiere Pro and Audition and After Effects at different times when I need to. And I also use Riverside. So Riverside is what I do all my recording through, but then I also use it to create different reels and clips and all that stuff. They've got some cool AI built-in components, which are nice, but for the most part, they just are a starting point. So I will put the audio and video in, and then I'll go through and actually figure out what clips I want to do, and then I'll create them, I'll edit them, and all of that. And it's easy to put the captions on there and the overlays and all that stuff. But when I put out any of the episodes, there's always the full episode, audio and video, and then 2 shorts. That's it. I'll post them on Instagram and I'll post them on YouTube, and that's it.
Now, isn't that a little bit more of a reasonable approach? Like, it's meaningful, it's got purpose, it's got intention, and it's done by human hands, with human knowledge and human input, not just throwing it out to an AI tool and hoping for the best, and actually probably not even looking at what it gives you back. You just copy, paste, email, send, done. Yay! But still, crap.
I'm not trying to post 100 billion shorts because, one, I don't want to do all that work. People don't need to see all of that. Thumbing through Instagram, they don't care. But in all reality, the people that are looking for things, they need to be able to find you. And they're going to look for the things that are contextually appropriate to them. And you want to be able to set yourself up the right way so that that information's out there and it makes sense. So if I used any of those 30 clips that were like half stories and like totally out of context, like almost to the point of being like, so there I was in the back alley and then he punched me in the head. What do you mean? What happened? Who's he? Why were you in the back alley? Give me context. Like there was none of that. Like that would make no sense to somebody coming across the Mindset and Self-Mastery show and be like, oh, okay, cool. Well, can I have that 10 seconds back in my life, please?
I asked Nick his thoughts about, like, we've gone so far to one end of the spectrum with AI, where it seems like everyone's fallen in love with it. It's the biggest thing and everyone's talking about it. Everyone's using it. And it's like, do you think we're going to come back kind of to more of a balanced approach to creating content? Do you think like that's even possible in the future? And this was what Nick responded.
I hope, but I don't know. I always, I'm mainly chuckling right now because of the people that'll like post in different groups with, here's a picture I took. It's clearly AI. Like you didn't take that picture. No. And if you did, AI, stop. Knock it off. You're clearly a chatbot. I would like to say that I think stuff will come back to a middle ground. I think we're even seeing some of that with how AI is being pushed. But at the same time, there's a lot of bigger stuff that's happening with AI that most people just don't think about. Like every single time you put something into ChatGPT or most every other AI or LLM that's using a ton of water that our planet is actually hurting for now. And I've never been one of those people that was super environmental until I learned a lot more, until I literally got even to the desert, living in New Mexico and seeing how the Rio Grande and like everything else has been drying up because of the amount of water that's really not coming down from the Colorado River. And why is that? Because of how things are shifting, what's happening. And then there's these data centers where people just go, well, cool, I just want this picture that looks sepia and looks like a cartoon, so why not? And that basically costs our planet, like, I don't know, a couple bottles of water, something like that, to at some point, you or us or people's kids in the future will have some environmental major problems. I think that stuff needs to be looked at and not just shied away or pushed away or going, well, I'm not going to be here in 50 years, so it doesn't matter. Let other people deal with it.
I like this from Nick. I do. I really do. I care about our planet as well, but I'm not like a super eco nerd as well, where I know everything, I need to know more, obviously. But maybe just the hit on natural resources that all these AI tools that all these podcasters are in love with, you can't be in love with an AI tool that strips the planet and be a pro-planet person at the same time. It's kind of a mixed bag there. You need to pick a side. And I'm going to be interested to watch as people come to realize the impact of what they're demanding of the internet and AI and the impact on the planet. And they got to make a decision. Again, is it worth it for 30 clips for my podcast episode created in a microsecond, which takes 10 bottles of water to produce? I don't know. Is that worth it to you to get all those clips that nobody's going to watch? And in a kind of an interesting use of terms, you're flooding the market with content that's taking away the floods of water for our planet. Oh, Dave, you're getting preachy. Okay, anyways. So maybe there's a day of reckoning coming where everyone's going to be like, wait a minute. What are we doing here?
But again, I think this also ties back to a deeper issue of people are trying to look for, how do I use these things to just do it faster and quicker and try to get in front and ahead of all these other people. And I think it's really important for us as podcasters. And look, if people take anything from this episode, it's to just be you and do the thing that feels right for you and have the conversation you are here to have. Because if you can have that strategically with the right people and the right audience, and you're speaking directly to them, then those people are going to keep coming back. They'll refer when it makes sense to do it. They'll pass it out to their friends again when it makes sense to do it. But you want to be able to have those people come back because they know they can trust what you're doing. And the more that you offshore that stuff and kind of offload it and just let AI take care of it, then you're literally just being in the mix of all the other people.
It's like the quickest route to being the same as everybody else. And whenever we're the same as everybody else, what makes you stand out? Nothing. Because you have the same clips created by the same platform that everyone's agreed is the best way to do the clips and do the thing and automate this and automate that. And you start to sound, look, and become just like everyone else. And if there's no reason why you stand out, then why should I care about you and your show? Because everyone else is doing exactly the same thing you're doing. And if your competition is using all these tools and so are you, you're just like them. You're just like them. And when I listen to podcast, and I watch this social platform and compare it to that one and compare it to that one, and I see a flood of all the things that you and I are using as tools to the extreme, everyone starts to sound the same. And that is dumbing down this beautiful thing called podcasting. It really is.
I remember being in high school and like all the hardcore music scene and all that, and like all the scene kids would try to wear like all the scene things. They'd have black hair and they'd have all the like studded belts and all that stuff. And I remember joking with people and being like, you're so cool and unique. You want to be just like that guy. And I would look over and there'd be like another kid with like the same hair. I got that. I understood I wanted to be part of it as well. But it was like, we are all trying to be so unique, but we're all still gravitating toward the things that others are looking to as well. And I think sometimes we do that with AI where we're like, well, it just says it can be a lot easier. And we don't think past that. And that's even deeper than just the systems problem. That's a human problem. Like, why don't we look for the fallacies in this stuff? Why don't we just go, well, what's really happening here? We need to know the basics of these things at least, you know?
I like what Nick's saying. When you outsource that skill, you also outsource the opportunity to learn something new. And when you learn something new, it becomes yours. So maybe it's better that you go learn these things because it might actually help you in the long term to increase your skill set and to be a better creator. It's an interesting thought. So I'm going to take this episode. It continues. Like we still have another, like we're not even like basically halfway through the interview with Nick and our conversation. And I'm like, well, instead of doing one massive episode, which is a big time commitment for you to commit to, I'm going to cut it in half. And that's a beautiful part about doing this kind of narrative type edit to a podcast. I can jump in, I can jump out, I can add context. There was times when Nick was on a roll and he was just going and I was sitting back and enjoying it. But I wanted to put myself in there as well so that I could kind of chime in and add my 2 cents to the amazing things that Nick was saying on the show. That doing this kind of edit allows me, again, to remove my track completely. You heard none of my original questions, but I've reworded my questions and inserted them where they were, and then also jumped into what Nick was saying, just to add some more context or to kind of add my 2 cents as well. And I hope you enjoy it. This is a totally different type of edit than most podcasters would do. They just take it as it is, clean it up a little bit, a couple things here and there, and release it. So if you want to do this kind of edit to your interviews, I think it gives just a different feel to a typical Zoom interview, Riverside interview, whatever you're using. And it's a little bit, for me as a listener, I find these more engaging because the host jumps in more often than I would have anticipated. And I love to get your feedback. Have you tried this kind of edit before? In the next episode, we're going to go right into the next episode, episode 737. It's going to be the continuation of this, part 2. So come back and it'll be out tomorrow and you can hear the rest. Again, Nick, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you go check out Nick's podcast, link in the show notes. Such a great guy. And if you're looking for editing support, he's there for you. I also edit as well. Shameless plug. Hi, I like doing this. And if you're looking for help and you're like, some of the things Nick said, I don't understand, reach out to Nick. He'll explain it to you and he'll work with you as well. Such a great guy. Super amazing. I'm hoping to have him on many, many, many more times in the future. And go check out this guy. He's just a wonderful human being. And he's sarcastic and he's fun and all of the things that make me smile. So again, Nick, thanks for being on the show. Everyone go check him out. And I'll catch you on the next episode for part 2. You coming back? Are you going to come back tomorrow? Yeah, you will? Okay. Take care. See ya. So I get asked quite often, usually at the end of a podcast, like right now, Dave, how can we help you? Like, how can we as a listener, support the show? Can we come rake your leaves? Can we cut the grass? Shovel the snow? Watch your dog? Help you move? What can we do? Clean your dishes? Oh, that'd be interesting. Well, if you can't do that because, you're in Poland, maybe you can help us by supporting us with our Buy Me a Coffee. It's right there on our website. And, it just will help us to, A, stay fueled because, we drink a lot of coffee around here. And it helps the show. So if you want to help us, it's out of the goodness of your heart. I can tell you that listening to the podcast to this point, you've already helped us so much. But I do have people saying, Dave, I'd love to give back something small even just to the show. Buy Me a Coffee link is on our website at howtopodcast.ca. And you can support the show that way. It would mean a lot to have you on our team supporting what we do here. If you find value in the show, then that's great. Share the show, tell somebody about it. And when somebody says, Dave, I want to start a podcast, who should I check out? Oh, you should go check out the How to Podcast series because of all the great co-hosts and all the things that happen here, the meetups, everything. And I would appreciate that. And then fill our cup once in a while if you can. But again, thank you so much for being here and supporting the How to Podcast series. Take care. Talk soon. You're still here. Amazing. This is the bonus content at the end of the episode. I'll keep it short. Thank you for being here. You being here just increases the retention rate of your podcast, meaning how long people listen to the episode. You'll see over time that people start at 100% at the beginning of the podcast, and then it just kind of trickles down from there, down to a small group of people who are still here. So you're one of those. Thank you. The question I had from a podcaster this week was, Dave, when is it time to pivot my format of my show? I've been doing my show. This person I was talking to had been doing solo episodes for a long period of time, and they were saying, Dave, what about maybe adding in a few interviews here and there? And I said to them, it was a great idea. And the beautiful thing is, this is your show. There's no rules as far as you have to do 25 episodes before you're allowed to do an interview. You have to do it this way and only this way. There's no rules around this. There's going to be people out there as podcast gurus who have their own made up fake rules, and people buy into them, and then people start regurgitating them as fact, and they're not. They're not fact. There's somebody made that up, and then you paid for their course, and now you just parrot what they say. And unfortunately, that feeds its way into podcasting, and these people get celebrated. They get on stage, and people go, "Oh my gosh, they're my guru," and all of that stuff. There's no rules. You can do whatever you want. So anytime you want, you can change your format. What I do on this show is an example of playing with format. I have co-hosted episodes, solo episodes, daily episodes. I have narrative style edits for my podcast. I have traditional podcast edits which just sound like the recording as is. I'm playing all the time, doing bonus content at the end of the episode. I'm playing all of the time just to show you that you can do whatever you want. So follow my lead, not because I'm an expert, but because I'm playing with my podcast, and pick up on the things that you like and ignore the things you don't. And I continue to play. I'll continue to push the boundaries and continue to push back on gurus who tell you you have to do it one way. You can pivot your podcast format anytime. It's your show. Pivot, measure, tweak, and continue. Happy to help at howtopodcast.ca if you want to chat. I'm here. I'm waiting. Talk to you soon.